Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Fireside Chat series. It is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. I'm Matt. I'm a co founder of Stand. And you can see I'm a little burned today. Spent a little time out at the CDC rally the other day without sunscreen and did a number on me. So, regardless, thank you for joining me today. We launched this series a couple weeks back. And if you remember the first time we launched the Fireside Chat series, go back and take a look. The reason we did it with some urgency was that on April 1st of 2025, a pretty enormous number of CDC employees, about 2,400 folks, were laid off abruptly. And there was some indication that folks knew that this was coming. But it was not clear exactly how extensive those cuts were going to be, when exactly it was going to happen, what departments or divisions were actually going to be impacted. And so we spent that fireside chat sort of listing through some of the different divisions that were being riffed, that were being summarily laid off. And I mentioned all that because I mentioned at the time that some of the things that you and I have come to rely on routinely were on that list. The OSHA group at the CDC, so workplace safety, essentially, a significant number of those divisions were hit. There were developmental disorders and STD testing, HIV prevention, things like this. One of the things that really struck me at the time was lead prevention or lead poison testing and support. It seems like the entire division associated with lead water testing around the country had been laid off. Again, I mention all of that because the impact of that came front and center the other day. So there was a story out of Milwaukee that there was a public school system that needed their water tested for lead. They were worried that the water levels were higher than normal, and they wanted to sort of assess their own water, assess the water supply, and figure out what the problem was. The result of that was that the CDC sent back a sorry, but those employees have all been laid off note. So 2 weeks ago, we announced those layoffs. Today, we are feeling the very real effects of what those layoffs actually mean. These aren't arbitrary cuts. These aren't, shavings off the top. These are things that are going to impact the daily lives of Americans going forward. And it is not clear in some of these cases exactly how we're going to replace these services or replace the expertise. I say all that to say that when we have had our meetings, our stand meetings, sometimes I go a little long on rhetoric and aspiration and what we can be. And one of the things that I talk a lot about is the idea of pushing back on policies that diminish human worth, that diminish the dignity of us all. And when I say that, and when we talk about that in our small groups, this is the kind of thing that I mean. It is a degradation of your worth that the government would pretend like cutting a division of lead testing that would protect your children would be somehow in the best interests of the health of our country. They don't believe that to be true. You know it's not true, right? It is a policy that is not rooted in an intent to serve the people. And as a result of that, right, it is designed to degrade. And so when we talk about these aspirational things, when we talk about, pushing back on policy designed with cruelty in mind, with degradation in mind, right? It's not this broad, high-level concept. These are very specific things that show up in our daily lives that we've come to rightfully expect out of our government. So we are announcing that we are going to start really leaning into the action part of what Stand has been designed to be, right? We've spent the first three meetings really carefully building up the structure of Stand. You all know that we are built on 3 action teams. We have a support team that is designed to pick people up off the ground, reminds them that they're worthy of community and they're worthy of support, and help get those people back moving. We have a team designed to communicate out into the world. There's going to have to be a lot of that because as these policies come through and as they're affecting people, it's going to be part of our job to make sure that people are informed of what's going on, or being informed that they can't go to the CDC now to ask questions about lead in their water. It's not something that they have access to anymore, right? So we have a communications team doing that, and a protest team that is now capable of mobilizing in an organized way. Certainly sent up that test balloon a couple weeks back now at Hands Off. So with all of those things now in line, it's time to really start focusing on the work. And part of that work is identifying specific areas where Stand can have an impact on the local sort of immediate society around us, as well as hopefully having a regional and maybe even a national impact. The way that we're going to do that is we are going to start using our Stand meetings not only as a way to build community and support each other, but also as a way to start organizing towards targeted efforts at influencing policy. On May 3rd, we're going to launch the first iteration of that. I won't tell you exactly how that meeting is going to be structured yet, because I think that we are still working that out. But what I will tell you is that we are going to spend a lot of time talking about federal employees, how they have been illegally laid off from their positions. We're pretty confident that in most cases it has been illegal layoffs, and how those layoffs are going to impact us locally, regionally, and nationally. And then more specifically, how is Stand going to be addressing those layoffs? How are they going to be supporting? How are we going to be supporting workers' rights? How are we essentially going to be leaning into this area that we believe that we can and should have an impact? So I can tell you that we have lots of things in the works. We've been developing resources for CDC employees that are trying to appeal their cases to their labor forces. We've been in conversation with folks about communication channels and how we reach people, and if people have jobs, how do we offer these to folks that need them? And also our FOIA teams are getting up and running, and we see an opportunity for protest to engage as well. But I won't give you too many details, but I will tell you that on May 3rd, it's going to look a little bit different, because we're going to have an opportunity to really start discussing what the real plan is to push back on policy that demeans and degrades people's worth, and how to plug people into that effort. So I look forward to starting to work through those changes with you. Like anything else, we are in the experimental phase of this movement. And what I mean by that, the scientist in me means by that, is we know where we want to go. We know very clearly what our goals are, how we want to be structured. And I think all of that is going really well. And I'm excited to be doing that work alongside you. But also, we're figuring it out. Not many of us have built a movement before. And so, as we sort of stumble our way through some of this, we really appreciate your working with us, because I think that at the end, if we've done what we want to do and we've built a sustainable community designed to care for each other and make an impact on the world, then we really will do some cool things, both here and beyond. So thank you all for sticking with us. I'm looking forward to talking to you about our sort of on the ground action plans for this first phase. And I'll mention that this will be a recurring thing now for our meetings. As we go forward, we are going to be engaging in different topics where we are putting together actual plans between communications, protest, and support as to how we are going to start influencing the world around us. So stay tuned for that. Federal employees and their rights are up first. And I will see you all next week in our next Fireside Chat. Thank you.